So we have Jacob Hanchu here for just a brief discussion of what he's doing this year for the Morin Academy.
The reading group is playfully called Reading Marx with Jacob Honshu after the popular Reading Capital with David Harvey. We have disclaimers that, my beard isn't as awesome as David Harvey's and things like this. So the 2024 edition of the reading group, like I said, it's going to switch from this kind of really intensive reading of one text, Capital Volume 1, to kind of more, I don't want to say broad necessarily, but what we're going to do is look at Marx's writings on non-capitalist societies from the 1840s, so relatively early, the Manifesto, the German ideology, and even earlier than that. The earliest one we have is, I think, from 1842, which is debates on the theft of wood, which is a kind of obscure piece that not a lot of folks, I think, know about, but it's quite interesting, and I think more folks should know about it. So we'll start all the way from there, all the way to the end of Marx's life. So, after Capital, after 1867, what was he doing? We don't have any real complete texts besides letters and then some shorter pieces, but no book length things. But in the 1880s, Marx was really concerned with some of these non-capitalist societies, not in and of themselves. He wasn't, doing ethnology or anything like this, but how this kind of factored into what he'd written and how he was thinking about capitalism later in his life. So we're going to try to cover that whole stretch. So with this, we're going to pair some more recent works on accelerationism, right? And then when we talk about the German ideology, we might pair, something like that Darwin wrote about kind of the stages of social evolution. And then we're going to move through that to some additional texts. He's got some letters on India. So Marx was like the foreign correspondent for the New York Tribune, and he wrote on India in the 50s. And then in the Grundrisse, there's this great collection called Pre-Capitalist Economic Formations, which is what we're going to read that kind of in full. And then that should get us probably to about that midway point, or partially through like the end of May, maybe. And then from there, what we're going to do is we're going to move into the later stuff, Capital, selections from all three volumes of Capital. And then in the very end, some of his works in the 1880s on, for example, Russian communes, and things like that. So, and I guess as well, the big one I should mention is Marx's ethnological notebooks, which is showing him actually engaging with, for example, Morgan's work on the Iroquois in the U.S. So